I admitted I was only sleeping with him out of pity, and now he refuses to even look at me. I told Derek the truth about our entire relationship 3 weeks ago, and apparently being honest about how much I sacrificed for someone who needed serious help makes me the villain in everyone's eyes. The words came out during our final fight when Derek demanded to know if I'd ever actually wanted him, or if everything physical between us had been motivated by sympathy. I tried explaining that I chose to be with him out of compassion and genuine desire to help rather than overwhelming romantic attraction, but Derek acted like I'd destroyed his entire world. I told him the truth, that when we met at Lisa's birthday party 9 months ago, he was this broken mess who clearly needed someone to guide him in the right direction, and I felt sorry for him immediately. I explained that my feelings had grown deeper as I invested more time and energy into making our relationship successful, but Derek wasn't listening to the positive aspects of what I was saying. He said learning that I'd been sleeping with him out of pity was the most humiliating thing anyone had ever told him, which wasn't fair, since I was trying to help him understand how much his situation had improved thanks to my intervention. Derek claimed it made him feel disgusting and worthless when I was actually showing him how dedicated I'd been to his development. That's when he found my phone unlocked on the kitchen counter and saw the Derek Improvements folder with over 300 files documenting our entire relationship journey. He scrolled through months of progress photos, financial spreadsheets, conversation screenshots, meal planning documents, and exercise tracking charts, while his face went completely white. Derek completely freaked out when he realized the scope of my documentation, calling it psychotic and invasive, instead of appreciating that someone cared enough to pay such detailed attention to his well-being. He focused on the wrong things, rather than recognizing how much thoughtful effort I'd put into tracking his growth and planning our future together. The worst part was when he discovered the folder labeled Future Improvements, where I'd been researching career advancement strategies, relationship timeline goals, and financial projections based on his improved earning potential. It was all positive, forward-thinking planning, but Derek acted like I was trying to control his entire life instead of helping him reach his potential. He demanded I delete everything immediately, which would have destroyed months of careful documentation that could help other people in similar situations. When I refused, Derek said he couldn't continue our relationship if it meant being monitored and analyzed constantly, which felt like emotional blackmail since I was clearly the one making sacrifices. Derek left that night and hasn't responded to any of my calls, texts, or emails since then, blocking me on social media and changing his phone number like I'm some kind of stalker instead of someone who invested 8 months of dedicated work into making him a better person. My name's Rachel. I'm 31 years old, and I work as a social worker, which should tell you everything about how much I care about helping people improve their lives. When I met Derek at my friend Lisa's birthday party 9 months ago, he was this broken mess of a guy who clearly needed someone to guide him in the right direction. He was 28, working part-time at some electronics store, while trying to make it as a freelance graphic designer, which honestly wasn't going anywhere fast. The first thing I noticed was how he slouched when he walked, and how his clothes never quite fit right. His hair was always a little too long, and he had this nervous laugh that made me feel sorry for him immediately. When Lisa introduced us, I could see he was trying so hard to impress me, but everything about him screamed that he needed serious work. Most women would have walked away, but I saw potential buried under all those problems. Here was someone who genuinely needed my help, and I've always been drawn to projects like that. My job training kicked in immediately. I could see exactly what needed fixing, and I knew I had the skills to do it. We started dating 2 weeks later, and I threw myself into improving him with the same energy I bring to my most challenging cases at work. I created a folder on my phone called Derek Progress, where I documented important relationship milestones. His improved confidence, his better lifestyle choices, his career advancement. I had organized categories for tracking positive developments. The documentation started as relationship journaling, which any relationship expert knows is healthy for measuring growth together. Photos of special occasions, when he achieved career goals or personal victories. Notes about conversations where we discussed future plans. It was all supportive partner documentation, disguised as being a caring girlfriend. Derek was so grateful for everything I was doing for him. He kept saying how lucky he felt that someone like me would give him a chance when most women wouldn't look twice at a guy in his situation. I loved how appreciative he was. It made all my hard work feel worthwhile. I started keeping notes about our relationship dynamics in a journal app because understanding patterns was clearly what our relationship needed most. When he made positive changes, what he accomplished each week, how our communication was improving. I used general categories: personal growth, career development, relationship milestones, everything color-coded for easy reference. The journal grew to include our social activities too, which friends supported his growth, and which relationships were helping or hindering his personal development. His work achievements, which were honestly improving thanks to my encouragement. His daily routines and whether those habits were contributing to our relationship success. Derek didn't know about the relationship documentation at first, but when he started asking questions about why I remembered so many details about our journey together, I explained that I was just paying attention because I cared about our relationship success. That's what people who love you do. They notice meaningful moments and celebrate progress together. By month 3, I had collected many photos celebrating his transformation journey, his improved confidence after we worked on communication skills together, his better presentation after we updated his wardrobe, our apartment looking better because we'd learned organization systems together, before and after memories that proved how much our relationship was growing thanks to our teamwork. The relationship investment tracking became necessary when I realized we needed better financial planning as a couple. I created notes showing how we were building our future together and what we were both contributing to our shared goals. Date nights, weekend trips, shared expenses. It added up to significant emotional and financial investment that I was making in our partnership. Derek started getting weird about my help around month 4. He complained that I was being too controlling when I suggested better career moves or questioned his choice of friends. He accused me of treating him like a child when I pointed out that successful people don't spend 3 hours a day playing video games. I tried explaining that everything I was doing came from a place of love and wanting to see him reach his potential. I showed him some of the progress photos to prove how much better he looked after following my advice. Instead of being grateful, he got upset about me taking pictures without asking permission. That's when I realized Derek had self-esteem issues that ran deeper than I'd initially assessed. He couldn't handle the fact that someone was finally willing to invest time and energy into making him better. He was self-sabotaging because he didn't believe he deserved the kind of relationship where his partner actually cared enough to help him grow. I doubled down on my efforts because giving up on someone isn't in my nature. I started documenting more evidence of positive changes to show him during his moments of doubt. Screenshots of compliments his friends made about his improved appearance. Bank statements showing his better financial management. Photos of his cleaner apartment and healthier meal choices. The breakthrough moment came when Derek's boss promoted him to full-time after I'd coached him on professional communication skills. He finally had steady income and health benefits, which was entirely due to my guidance on interview preparation and workplace behavior. I took screenshots of his first real paycheck to add to his success folder, but instead of thanking me, Derek started pulling away even more. He said he felt like I was documenting his life instead of living it with him. He complained that I analyzed everything he did instead of just enjoying our time together. He clearly didn't understand that analysis and improvement go hand in hand. The crisis point came during Lisa's engagement party in month 6. Derek was talking to some woman from his new job, and I could see her flirting with him, which was honestly pathetic, since she obviously didn't know about all the work I'd put into making him date-worthy in the first place. Her name was Jennifer, and she worked in marketing at Derek's company, which meant she probably made decent money, but had terrible taste in men if she was going after someone who still needed significant improvement in multiple areas. She was wearing this tight black dress that was clearly chosen to get male attention and kept touching Derek's arm while laughing at everything he said, even when it wasn't funny. I watched from across the room as Derek actually responded to her attention with confidence I'd spent months building in him. The way he stood up straight, instead of slouching, came from hours of me reminding him about proper posture. His ability to maintain eye contact during conversation was something we'd practiced extensively after I noticed how he used to look at the floor when talking to people. Even his outfit was my work. The navy button-down shirt I'd picked out during our shopping trip to replace his collection of wrinkled t-shirts and the dark jeans that actually fit him properly instead of hanging loose like everything in his old wardrobe. Jennifer was basically flirting with my creation without realizing it. I could tell she was the type of woman who went for guys who already had their act together, rather than someone willing to put in the real work of helping a man reach his potential. She probably had no idea that 6 months ago, Derek was living in a studio apartment with dishes piled in the sink, wearing clothes that didn't fit properly, and spending most of his free time playing video games instead of working on his career. The way she kept complimenting his new job promotion made me want to laugh because she had no clue that Derek never would have gotten promoted without my coaching on professional communication and workplace behavior. I'd spent weeks helping him practice interview skills and teaching him how to present himself as management material instead of the unmotivated part-timer he'd been when we met. Jennifer asked Derek about his graphic design work, and I watched him describe recent projects with enthusiasm and technical knowledge that came directly from conversations we'd had about building a professional portfolio. I'd been the one who encouraged him to take on more challenging freelance assignments and helped him organize his work samples into a coherent presentation format. She seemed impressed by his confidence and ambition, but had no idea those qualities were recent developments that required extensive cultivation. The Derek she was talking to hadn't existed before I took on the project of improving him. Without my intervention, he'd still be that nervous, awkward guy who couldn't hold a conversation with attractive women. I decided to join their conversation because someone needed to provide context about Derek's transformation, and I was the only person who understood the full scope of work involved. I walked over with a friendly smile and introduced myself as Derek's girlfriend while making sure to position myself between them. When Jennifer mentioned how impressed she was by Derek's professionalism at work, I took the opportunity to provide some background about his journey. I explained that Derek had really grown into his potential over the past several months, and that it was amazing to see someone embrace positive changes when they had the right support system. I mentioned that Derek used to be quite different in terms of his professional presentation and social skills, but that people can really flourish when they have someone who believes in their potential and is willing to invest time in helping them reach it. Jennifer looked confused by this level of detail, but I thought she deserved to understand what kind of work went into Derek's current success. The conversation felt important because Jennifer needed to realize that Derek's improved confidence and career momentum weren't just natural developments. They were the result of months of dedicated guidance and support from someone who recognized his potential when others might have overlooked it. I explained that before Derek and I started dating, he'd been in a very different place professionally and personally, but that with the right encouragement and structure, people can make remarkable improvements. I wanted Jennifer to understand that she was seeing the results of extensive development work rather than just Derek's natural state. Derek kept trying to change the subject, but I felt it was important to give him credit for how hard he'd worked to better himself with my help. I mentioned that he'd been particularly dedicated to improving his financial management skills and professional wardrobe, which were areas where many people his age still struggled. Jennifer started looking uncomfortable as I provided more context about Derek's transformation, but I thought she was just processing how much effort real personal growth requires. I explained that sustainable change takes time and consistent support, which is why it's so important to have partners who are committed to each other's development. The conversation highlighted how much progress Derek had made, but also reminded me why I'd initially felt drawn to helping him improve his situation. He'd been this lost guy who clearly needed direction and structure, and I'd been able to provide exactly what he was missing in terms of guidance and accountability. Jennifer eventually excused herself to get another drink, which gave me a chance to remind Derek how much his social skills had improved since we'd been together. I pointed out that 6 months ago, he never would have been able to maintain that kind of conversation with an attractive woman, and that his confidence with people was one of his most noticeable improvements. Instead of appreciating the feedback, Derek seemed annoyed and said I was embarrassing him by discussing his personal development in front of his coworker. I tried explaining that I was actually protecting our relationship by making sure Jennifer understood that his current success wasn't available to just anyone who showed interest. Derek accused me of treating him like a project instead of a boyfriend, but I reminded him that caring enough to help someone improve is what real love looks like. I pointed out that most women would have walked away from his situation instead of investing the time and energy required to help him reach his potential. The whole interaction with Jennifer proved that my work with Derek was successful because she was clearly attracted to the confident professional version of himself that existed because of my guidance. Without my intervention, Derek would still be that struggling part-timer who couldn't even afford to take women on proper dates. Lisa pulled me aside later and said I'd embarrassed Derek by talking about him like he was some kind of project. She didn't understand that I was actually protecting him from this woman who was only interested because of all my improvements. Before I came along, Derek couldn't even hold a conversation with attractive women. The ride home was tense, and Derek accused me of humiliating him in front of his co-workers. I tried explaining that I was proud of his progress and wanted people to see how far he'd come, but he twisted it into something negative. He said I made him sound like a charity case, which wasn't fair, since I'd never used those words. That's when Derek demanded to see my phone because he suspected I was keeping relationship records without discussing it with him. I had to show him the Derek Progress folder, which by then contained numerous files documenting our relationship journey together. Growth photos, relationship planning, documents, conversation memories, goal-setting charts, everything needed to prove how much we'd built together as a couple. Derek completely freaked out when he saw the scope of my relationship documentation. He said it was excessive and invasive, which hurt my feelings since I'd put so much thoughtful effort into preserving our journey together. He focused on the wrong things. Instead of appreciating that someone cared enough to document our growth as a couple, the worst part was when he found the folder labeled Future Improvements, where I'd been planning our next phase of development work. I had research on career advancement strategies, relationship goals, timelines for major life decisions, and financial projections based on his improved earning potential. It was all positive, forward-thinking planning, but Derek acted like I was trying to control his entire life. He demanded I delete everything immediately, which would have destroyed months of careful documentation. I tried explaining that this information could help other people in similar situations. I could write articles for my social work publications about successful intervention strategies in romantic relationships. Derek threatened to leave if I didn't delete the files, which felt like emotional blackmail, since I was clearly the one making sacrifices in our relationship. I'd invested 8 months of my time, energy, and money into his improvement with very little appreciation for my efforts. Now he wanted me to destroy all evidence of the work I'd done. We had a huge fight where Derek said some really hurtful things about my motivations. He claimed I never actually loved him and was just using him as some kind of social work experiment. He said I treated him like a broken person who needed fixing instead of accepting him as he was. I tried explaining that love means wanting someone to become their best self and being willing to help them get there. I loved Derek enough to see his potential and work toward bringing it out. Most people would have given up on him after seeing how much improvement he needed, but I stuck with it because I believed in what he could become. Derek said he felt like he'd been performing for my approval instead of being in a genuine relationship. He claimed the constant documentation made him self-conscious about every choice because he knew I was evaluating and recording everything. He didn't understand that accountability leads to better decision-making. The final conversation happened 3 weeks ago when Derek said he couldn't continue our relationship if it meant being monitored and analyzed constantly. He wanted me to choose between keeping my documentation and keeping him, which wasn't fair since the documentation was proof of how much I cared about making our relationship successful. I told Derek the truth about how our relationship started and developed. I explained that I'd initially felt sorry for him because he was clearly struggling in multiple areas of his life. I said I chose to be with him out of compassion and a desire to help, rather than overwhelming romantic attraction. I thought honesty would help Derek understand that my feelings had grown deeper as I invested more time and energy into our relationship. I explained that pity had evolved into genuine care and commitment to his success. I wanted him to see that staying with someone who needs improvement takes dedication and selflessness. Instead, Derek acted like I'd said something terrible. He asked if I'd ever actually desired him, or if everything physical between us had been motivated by sympathy. I tried explaining that attraction develops when you see someone working to better themselves, but Derek wasn't listening to the positive aspects of what I was saying. He said learning that I'd been sleeping with him out of pity was the most humiliating thing anyone had ever told him. He claimed it made him feel disgusting and worthless, which wasn't my intention at all. I was trying to help him understand how much his situation had improved thanks to my intervention. Derek left that night and hasn't responded to any of my calls, texts, or emails since then. He blocked me on social media and changed his phone number, which seems like an extreme overreaction to an honest conversation about our relationship dynamics. I tried reaching out through Lisa, but she said Derek asked everyone to respect his decision to cut contact completely. Lisa also said some people from the engagement party had been talking about how I treated Derek and that maybe I should reflect on my behavior, which felt like everyone was ganging up on me. My family thinks Derek is being dramatic and ungrateful, since anyone could see how much better his life became during our relationship. My mother pointed out that he'd gained steady employment, better social skills, improved physical health, and financial stability, all because of my guidance and support. The hardest part is watching Derek throw away 8 months of progress because he can't handle honest feedback about our relationship origins. I've seen him around town a few times, and he literally turns and walks the other direction when he sees me coming, which is incredibly childish behavior. Derek started dating someone new last month, which proves he learned nothing from our relationship about taking time for self-improvement before jumping into something else. This new woman has no idea what she's getting into or how much work Derek still needs in multiple areas of his life. I still have all the documentation from our relationship because deleting it would be destroying valuable evidence of successful intervention strategies. The before and after photos alone show dramatic improvement in Derek's appearance, confidence, and life circumstances that could help other people in similar situations. My supervisor at work said the documentation might be useful for a case study about therapeutic approaches in personal relationships. I could present at conferences about how social work skills can be applied to romantic partnerships to achieve measurable positive outcomes. The whole situation has been incredibly frustrating because I genuinely helped Derek become a better version of himself, and he threw it all away because he couldn't appreciate honest communication about how our relationship developed. He's going backward now without my guidance and structure. I still don't understand why everyone's making me the villain when I was the one doing Derek a favor by staying with him through all his improvement phases. I invested more time, energy, and money into his development than anyone else ever had, and this is how he repays my dedication. If you enjoyed this story, make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss the next one.